Now, the row about where the remains of Richard III should finally be laid to rest has intensified today, with some of his own descendants now calling for his remains to be buried in York. Now, you remember the skeleton was found under a car park in Leicester and was died this week.
Well, Krista, both Leicester and York are arguing they are the rightful resting place for the former King of England. Well, now the leader of York Council and the local MP have weighed in, along with more than 15,000 people who have signed an online petition. So what is York's claim to his remains? Well, firstly, there's a strong historical evidence that Richard himself planned to be buried in York Minster. He was prepared to pay 100 priests to pray for his soul. Secondly, Richard spent most of his youth in the north and lived in the Dales at Middleham Castle when he married. And thirdly, he invested in several buildings in York, even paying for defences to be added to Monk Bar. He was buried in haste, naked and anonymous, in a place so cramped his skull was jammed against his shallow grave. Apparently he'd been pierced with a pike, stabbed and hit by an arrow. Hardly his chosen resting place, and yet Leicester now wants him to stay there forever.
Obviously, York wants to shout a little bit and to try and get a bit of attention out of this, but frankly, it won't do them any good, really, because it is a matter now that has been firmly decided, and Richard has been in Leicester for 500 years, and it is in Leicester that he will remain.
Talk like that caused the War of the Roses. In York, Richard III was loved, still is. No pay and display resting place here. He was married in the county at Middleham Castle in North Yorkshire, the Windsor of the North as it was known. Owned Sheriff Hutton Castle and was Lordship of Scarborough Castle. That's why the leader of York Council, a stocky Yorkist, James Alexander, is in battle mode.
Well, we say we are continuing and we're fighting this to win. We want to be able to bring these remains back to York, which is where King Richard belongs, and Leicester can back off. It would be a big tourism boost, there's no doubt about that, but this is also about someone's dying wishes. This is where he wanted to be, and this is where the city has great affection for him.
So there you have it. Leicester want him, York most certainly do, and behind me, York Minster have maintained a very dignified silence throughout the whole row. But there's not much doubt that there is a significant momentum building now for Richard III's final resting place to be here in this magnificent building. One of his relatives is in no doubt. We repatriate those who give their lives in battle. So why is this any different? We don't leave them a few miles from where they fell. They are brought home. A point taken up today by MP Julian Sturdy.
We've really got to win this battle now for Richard III, getting back to our great county here. As a proud Yorkshireman, I feel really passionate about this. There's no doubt about it. The case is definitely swinging behind our county. We've got MPs from cross-party on our side, and even Richard III's descendants are coming out and saying very strongly that he should come back to our great county here and be buried here.
2, 1.
But the city of Leicester is digging in. Queues today to see the artefacts from the dig, and promises of weekend Richard III breaks. But isn't the issue really where he wanted to rest in peace? Let the battle continue.